I'm Sammy.
I'm Spencer Robbins, and we run A Life Free.
If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel, like, and share it with a friend.
Do it. Do it now.
Do it.
Do it. Control is how relationships die.
Cool. Hey,
Hi.
we haven't talked to each other in like 3 hours.
I've been introverted.
Yeah, you seemed
Yeah.
like you needed some time earlier.
I did. Real bad.
He got grumpy.
I just looked at really nice wines online for a while.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
Makes you happy. Makes him really happy. Disclaimers.
Yep.
Disclaimers.
Some disclaimers. So we're gonna be bringing up some different stuff. Alcohol, divorce, control, pornography, question mark, lust.
Looking around?
Okay, before we say what we are saying, here's what we're not saying, okay? We're not saying divorce is a really good option. We're not saying that divorce is something that we totally condone. We're not saying that we coach people into divorce, okay? And so understand that it's a really complex situation. We're also not shaming
Nothing
or
is black and
blaming
white. Nothing's
divorce,
black and
people
white.
that have gone through divorce. We're not saying you're wrong or bad for having gone through it. We're just bringing up examples that illustrate what we're talking about today. Alcohol. I don't have a sin problem with alcohol. Sammy and I actually have different beliefs around alcohol, and to this day,
But we both drink alcohol.
But we both actually love wine. We love mixed cocktails.
Love that Jesus' first miracle was turning water into wine, and that he saved the best for last. And there's a lot that we could dive into. If you want to know more, just read the book Money, Sex, Beer, God by John Crowder.
Yep.
And it will communicate to you a lot of our belief systems around those topics.
And so we have a working relationship with alcohol. We invite God into it. And ultimately, we believe that wine was a symbol of God's covenant to us. And so we happen to enjoy it. We don't get drunk on it. We don't believe in getting drunk. That's not what we are saying either, and anything that we're about to share as well. So understand that, okay? We're very clear in our marriage also, and we don't shove anything under the rug ourselves. We talk about everything.
We don't hide any part of our lives when it comes down to it. So we're just candidly having conversations about topics for us.
So if there are things that trigger you, or you think you hear a belief system of ours and you go, that triggers me, I don't like them. Well, why don't you actually ask yourself the question, am I getting all of the information that I need to make a snap conclusion or decision? The odds are probably not. So don't hear what we're not saying today, hear what we are saying, and we hope that there's valuable insights that you get from it.
Mwah. We're done chit-chatting. We wanted to let you guys into some of our conversations and our dialogues about control and surrender.
Kind of like what you were doing right there, controlling the way I was sitting.
I hate you. I will stab you. Yeah, control and surrender.
Yeah.
It's fun stuff to talk about.
Control
hard
is
stuff.
Yeah.
Hard stuff to navigate through.
Control is how relationships die. You know, like I remember, especially if, I think my dog's trying to drink my water. Don't drink my water. Control is something that we do when we're like really scared in relationships. Like we're scared of, like it's one of our big fears gets poked on. You know, a really common fear in relationships is a fear of not having your needs get met. You know, a lot of people see relationships as win and lose scenarios. And so if one person wins, you know, getting their needs met, then the other person has to lose. You know, we learn a lot in our family is that you have to sacrifice yourself so that someone can be happy. You know, as kids, we learn to take on the weight of our parents' emotions. We learn to make it our responsibility to make sure they're happy, because we learn as kids in our fractured understanding of life, we learn that if I can make sure that mom has her needs get met, dad has her needs get met, then I'll get the needs that I really want met, like comfort and validation and time, you know, just quality time even. And then it's reinforced even more, you know, when when parents don't even know it, but they're manipulating their kids to meet their needs.
Yep.
You know, and so it's something that is ingrained, I feel like, in our society and our family dynamics, that when we carry it into our future relationships, we're perpetuating this thing that we were taught.
Yeah. And what he's really talking about is himself and and his life and how he functioned. Because for me,
yes and no. I'm pretty aware of my life, and
no, you are. But for like you hit a category of people.
yeah,
You hit a large percentage of people. But then there's the other side of it where maybe you didn't try to meet all of your parents' needs. Maybe you just shut off and separated entirely. So that might not fit your symptoms and how you've navigated through things. But for me, control has really manifested in a way to prevent pain from happening. So for me, because there's so much, I won't even relate it to my childhood at this point in time, but for me, there's so much pain that I've gone through. And then entering into marriage, it exposes more pain and more fears, more insecurities. And so the reaction to that is to control.
Yeah.
I want to control the outcome, because if I can control this outcome, maybe I can change this situation. And if this situation is changed, then I don't have to feel pain. Or we don't have to feel pain. And then he doesn't have to hurt me. And then I don't have to villainize him. And we don't have to be disconnected for the next 2 weeks. And so for me, I didn't even really realize I had control issues until I got married.
Yep.
And then I'm like, wow, why is everything that you're doing affecting me? And why do I wish I could change everything that you're doing so that it doesn't affect me?
And did that control work in our relationship?
The sad thing and the reality about control, and all you controlling women and men out there are gonna hate this, but also know that it's true, is it actually just pushes people further away. You don't get the outcome that you want. Like, fear won't actually help you solve the problem. Fear and fearing that situation, that outcome, won't actually change the outcome. It actually just makes it worse. So what I've done with Spence is when I've tried to control situations or control him looking at another woman, or what's another thing?
Alcohol.
Or control how frequently he drinks or how much he drinks. If I can control this thing, I think that I'll get my desired outcome, when actually he just feels trapped, he feels restricted, he feels like I don't trust him, which actually makes him want to go to looking at the other woman or go to having the drink.
It actually feels like a better option. So I'm like, well, this sucks here, and this isn't a fun, life-giving environment.
And I want to escape this because now I feel trapped.
And my trigger was control growing up too. And so for me, I wanted to run so far away from control, because it's a reminder of me never having my needs get met ever. Me never getting comfort that I craved. Me never actually being loved for me. I'm like, if I can't be just loved for me, then I don't want any part of it.
Yeah.
Or I actually, for me to be strong here in this relationship, I can't trust you to ever love me as me. So I have to go take care of it myself. So I have to learn how to love me as me, and then come to this relationship and never expect it.
And here's the thing. Fear actually masquerades as wisdom. It masquerades as wisdom. Your mama taught you that. Your daddy taught you that. Your grandmama taught you that. Like, actually, if I can be afraid of this thing, of what could happen, or what his alcohol consumption could lead to one day, or what him noticing another beautiful woman, what that could lead to one day, if I can fear...
There's even self-care. Self-care and...
What are you talking about?
I mean, those were like two really isolated things, but self-care, nutrition, fitness, those might be even better examples.
Okay, those are better because they're actually more prevalent. So like, another thing for me that I really tried to control our whole marriage is him taking care of himself, getting time with Jesus, taking care of his body, eating good food, because I value that so much. And I know if I'm taking care of myself, I can thrive and bring full, overflowing Sammy to our marriage. And if Spencer, that ultimately, my desire was for him to take care of himself so that he could be good and full. But I also knew that he would be overflowing that onto me. And also, if he was taking care of himself, then it wouldn't lead to unhealthy behaviors with looking at other women or drinking or whatever the bad things could lead to one day. So it was actually still all intertwined. Like, oh, if I know that you're full and really connected to Jesus, none of those other things will happen. And so in this, like, recognizing that fear actually masquerades as wisdom, I think is something to really grab hold of. Because we think, if I can fear what this could turn into one day and change it, that it's going to protect us. No, actually it's wisdom. No, actually this is just godly living. No, this is actually discipline. It will hide in all these different areas when really, like, the truth is, honey, no, you just have fear. And you're trying to find a way to hide it and to project it onto someone else so you don't have to take ownership. So in this, I was about to give homework like we're talking to our clients. This isn't client content. This is YouTube content. You don't get homework. So in this, I guess what we want to really unpack is how to relinquish control, first and foremost, and what surrender looks like. So for me, I was so afraid to not control, and I was so afraid of what surrender would look like, because my thought was, well, if I stop controlling him and if I surrender, then it's just going to make things worse. And my fear almost perpetuated itself. I would spiral out of control internally because I was so afraid of, well, if I just don't ever say anything about him getting his Jesus time in, maybe he'll never spend time with God, and then maybe he'll totally fall off the bandwagon. Or so much hero complex. Mm-hmm. Or if I don't remind him to eat healthy, or if I don't remind him to eat, because you guys, that happens, then maybe he just won't take care of himself at all, and he'll burn out and get exhausted, and that's going to affect me and our business and our clients, and it's going to have this huge ripple effect in our world. And so I let fear continue to motivate me to keep controlling. And surrender, ultimately in my mind, surrender meant everything was going to be out of control and go wrong. When really the reality is, if I can relinquish control and not remind him to do things, not remind him to take care of himself, not check in on him constantly, not say things in passive ways to make sure he takes care of himself or whatever the thing is. If I can relinquish control entirely and choose to surrender, the result has actually been beautiful. I've actually noticed him, out of his freedom, out of his free will, choosing things because he wants them for himself, not because his wife told him to. And the beautiful part about that is I get to actually build trust with him.
Well, even when you control and we get a desired outcome, we ultimately think, oh, it's because I was controlling. So you don't actually get to receive love if somebody is moving something out of the way to choose you.
Yeah.
Because it all comes back to, it's because I controlled them to do that.
So it also reinforces your need to control.
And it reinforces your doubt that they'll ever actually bring real love to the table. Yeah.
Another really scary thing about control, and this was very motivating for me to relinquish control. The scary thing about control is if you are doing things in your relationships or in your life to get the desired outcome, then you're actually suppressing whatever is under the surface the entire time. So for example, let's use the alcohol. Example? Why can't I think of my words?
I don't know.
Let's use alcohol as an example.
Hey.
Hashtag content creator, communicators.
I know. Yeah, you don't have to talk perfect to have good content.
Let's use alcohol as the example. Now I lost all my thought. Relinquishing control. Alcohol. Outcome. Surrender. Freaking heck, I have to edit it now. What was I going to talk about? Alcohol. Oh. Wow, that took
You don't actually get the desired outcome.
No. Don't. I said, don't derail me. I'm going to get ADD. Dude. It's been 45 seconds since I remembered what I was talking about. Okay, let's use alcohol as an example. So if I try to control Spencer's alcohol intake to get him to do what feels safe to me, which for me, like, okay, I won't get into logistics. I'm going to start over.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been 48 seconds now since I remembered what I was going to say. So let's use alcohol as the example. So if I control the amounts and the frequency of alcohol consumption for Spencer, I might be getting my desired outcome. He might be doing the things that I want him to do that make me feel safe. But what I'm doing and what I'm perpetuating is sweeping everything under the rug. So if there was a numbing issue that Spencer had, or an escape issue that Spencer had, and he was going to alcohol, if I modify his behavior and control his behavior all of the time, then we're never dealing with the thing that's under the surface of why he's going to alcohol, right? Because with whatever we're trying to control, there's something underneath it motivating it and fueling it. And so if I constantly shove down, okay, well, let's only drink this many times. Let's only have this much to drink. If I keep shoving down and modifying his behavior, I'm also shoving down what's fueling and motivating his behavior in the first place, which means I'm sweeping all of our shit under the rug. And that feels safe to people who don't want healthy relationships. This feels safe to peacemakers and people who don't want confrontation. But what happens is if you sweep things under the rug, then 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, all of the stuff that you've been sweeping under the rug is going to come out eventually. And so the thing about surrender is if I relinquish all of my control, I can actually see what's under the surface. If I don't control anything that you're doing, it gives me opportunity to see what's inside of you, to see maybe he will drink every single day of the week and drink way too much, and then we have an explosion in marriage and we see all of his pain come out. That is a gift, because then at least we know what's there.
Yeah.
Then at least, and I have a friend who calls it the rupture. She's like, you want the rupture to happen. Because the rupture is either it's going to happen now, or it's going to happen 10 years or 20 years from now, and it's going to be way worse. Because you built your life and your connection and relationship on a lie. And so in this, like, you want this rupture to happen. I want to see what's under the rug. I can't see what's under the rug if I'm constantly telling him where to put the rug, how to move the rug, how many times he needs to shake the rug. Like, I don't get opportunity to see what's actually under the surface. And so by relinquishing control, it actually lets you deal with things because things are getting exposed. So if you're constantly managing your man, where he looks, what he's looking at on his phone, if he's watching pornography, if you're controlling that to try to get him to be a good boy, then you don't know what's going to happen 20 years from now, or the second he feels safe enough to share with you, all this stuff is going to come out. You'd rather have that stuff come out now. Yeah. If you're afraid of being cheated on and you're managing his behavior, you would rather know if he's going to cheat on you now rather than when you get married or 20 years from now.
And furthermore, you want to be a safe place for him to be able to communicate things. Like the actual, really,
her.
Yeah, him or her, exactly. The healthy piece of creating a safe place where you're not punishing and controlling is that the other person, they have a safe place to be able to bring up things in dialogue. Yeah. In a safe place. Like, I would never be able to go on a soul-searching journey behind alcohol with Sammy if that were something that had a lot of like negative, energy behind it. I wouldn't be able to go on a soul-searching process with Sammy because I go, if I bring it to her, it's going to be more backlash and punishment. Mm-hmm. So I have to go to all these other sources but her, the closest person in my world, because honestly, that's not safe for me able to bring vulnerability up.
So now you have disconnection, you have shame, which tells you to hide. So you have your person hiding from you.
Which are typically the roots of addiction anyways.
Yes. Boom. That's true. So now you have disconnection in a relationship. Your person doesn't feel safe with you. Now they're hiding from you. Now they're probably going to go out and do things behind your back because they don't feel safe enough to just do what they want to do around you. And then if you stay with that person and you keep perpetuating those cycles, God knows and God forbid what's going to happen 10, 20 years from now. So the fruit of control is not good.
So let's talk about what's a healthy way to be powerful though in relationships. Because let's talk about if you are dating somebody and all these things do start coming up.
Yeah.
You know, like, so I just have to be okay with it. I just have to just like shove my feelings and not bring those to the table.
Hell
like,
no.
Like, so if I'm not controlling, what do I do?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, that's the big question that rises up. Like, well, if I'm not controlling, what do I do? Because for a lot of people that function and control a lot, the ulterior is powerlessness. They go, I have to control or feel powerless.
Yeah.
When that's actually not your only available situation. In dating and in marriage, you have to understand that your choices never go away. And when I mean choices, is your choice for there to be someone else. If you're in an abusive relationship, or if you're in a relationship where somebody's not choosing into marriage, you know, if they're, which let me give an example.
Yeah.
So let me give you an example. If let's say hypothetically, Sammy kept sleeping around with men, I'm like, I hear about this, I'm devastated. It's so painful for me, but I'm like, I want to love you in this. I need you to get counseling for me to feel like I trust you in this. I need us to get counseling. If I'm going to actually be here with you and fight for this connection, I'm going to need this, and this from you, so that we can be working towards real connection, because there's something going on that made you want to go to other men to get that need met. And then there's the pain I get to work through on my own, where that her sleeping with other men triggers my inadequacy and stuff, but that's my stuff to feel. You know, and it's not that I can't bring those feelings to her, but so let's say that happens. If she decides, I'm not going to counseling, I am not choosing into connection with you, I'm not choosing to grow in this, and I'm going to continue sleeping with other men, whether she says it with her words or not,
or my actions,
but she keeps doing it. She's like, there's obviously a choice to keep choosing away from marriage. Me personally, and I'm not saying this is like the right thing to do, I'm not saying this is what you should do, I'm not giving advice to people that were looking for it, because it's a very deep discussion that needs to be had. But personally, in that scenario, I would choose out of marriage. I'd be like, you're not choosing into the covenant of marriage with me. Mm-hmm. And so powerfully, I'm going to make my decision to go to separate myself from this, and choose somebody that wants to choose into covenant with me.
Yeah.
That would be a powerful decision that I would make, because I would want us to be able to fight for the goal of connection, which is marriage. The goal of marriage is connection. And if you're not choosing into connection on both parties, then what are you choosing
marriage.
into?
It's not marriage at all. So relating this to go ahead.
Well,
finish.
I wanted to relate that to lower stakes situations too. So what do I do then if that person continues to choose this thing that's painful over and over and over again? Well, I'm going to be sharing that this feels painful. I'm going to be bringing up, like, hey, when you do this, like, it's triggering me. It's painful for me here.
And sharing things in a way too, because you need to have space to feel. You need to have space to have pain and to bring all of that stuff to the table. You need to be able to have a voice. And so it's like coming in and saying, hey, this thing that you've been doing, this is really painful for me, and here are all of the ways this has been affecting me. I'm not going to say, when you did this, this is what you made me feel. Those are actually powerless statements. And these are like actual conversations we've had where I feel blame towards him. I feel accusation. I feel like he's the villain and the problem, and like I have all this pain because of him and his decisions. And I go to a safe space and I process it, I grieve, and I get the pain out, and I get all like the really messy accusation out. And then I come to him and I say, hey, when this happened, here's how I felt. Here is how this thing affects me. Here are the thoughts that I have. Here are the fears that I have. Here's the pain that comes up, the insecurities that come up. And something that I've gotten good at is saying, I'm not asking you to stop. I'm not asking you to change because I don't want to control you, but I just want to let you in. And I might even ask you, like, here is what would feel safe for me, but I'm not asking you to do this. And here is something that I need moving forward. And in order for us to keep moving forward in connection and for me to actually feel safe, here are some different things that would feel good for me and build trust with me. But it's communicating things in a way where you're saying, my pain and my problems are my responsibility. Did you play a part in that? You sure did, but I'm going to take ownership for my reactions. And then from there, letting that person respond however they want. And you don't want to control how that person responds either, because then you're not seeing what's actually there. It's actually it's been a massive trust builder for me, knowing that I have a really good man without control, based on how I see him respond to me out of his free will and not me forcing him into something. I get to trust, like, oh, he's doing this because he wants to choose love. He wants to choose connection. He wants to build safety for me. Maybe for me, I have past pain towards alcohol and men choosing substance over me. Maybe he has an actually healthy relationship with it. But watching what he chooses to do and how he chooses to love me in that, regardless, builds safety and trust for me, and I get to see who he is and what's inside of him.
And so, but that can only happen inside of a context of love and relinquishing control. Like, the only time that it actually gets the desired outcome on both sides is that there's love present, and that we build that equity together on both sides. But again, if you're in a relationship and someone is choosing a substance and it gets really unhealthy and you have relinquished control, you still get to go like, hey, this is painful and I don't know if I can handle it. I want to, and I'm not here saying you're a bad person, you're a villain. I'm just saying, like, I get so extremely triggered by this, I don't even know if I can handle it in this relationship. So I need to take some space personally, and I don't want to do that, but it just feels so unsafe for me that I need to go over here and I need to do my own thing while you're choosing this.
That's if they're continuing to choose that thing and disrespecting you in that. And so in this too, it's hard.
Because you also don't want to punish. It's even in those moments going like, I'm not punishing you by creating distance.
Yeah.
I just can't.
I have to take care of me in this.
And I don't want to control you, so I'm trying to take space so my heart is okay.
And just like that person is exercising their free will to choose that thing and not connection with you, you can exercise your free will in deciding, do I want to be involved in that or not? Like, am I willing to fight for this or not? Is this safe for me to be a part of or not? Use your free will, and you have just as much power to be, to be choiced. You're powerful to make choices. And so use your free will and make choices. And we're not encouraging you to leave. We're not encouraging you to stay. We're actually encouraging you to be a powerful person and relinquish control regardless. And one thing that I want to hit on practically too is, like, this is just hard.
Yeah.
Control, the urge to control is really, it's difficult, and the pain that comes up that motivates us to control is excruciating. And so in this, like, give yourself a lot of grace, because there might be times, even if you get really good at this, that you get so triggered that you can't think clearly. Like, even a couple days ago, we were out together, and I've been on this journey really for a decade, but I've been going after control really intensely for the last 6 months. And I've gotten really good at it the last 2 months. But I had this day where I just was like, I feel like I can't even process logically to get to a space where it's easy to relinquish control. I don't even know how to surrender right now. I don't feel like I know how to be tender. There might be times where your brain gets hijacked and you have times where you don't know how to navigate through this. And one thing that I would just encourage you, like, I get coaching, we both get coaching weekly. And if you don't already know this, we have group coaching programs where we have courses and we dive into this stuff. So just hearing this one video is not going to give you all of the information that you need, and it's not going to help you in your internal process.
It's enough to inspire you, but not enough to actually bring change.
Yeah, it's not. There's deep-rooted pain and wounds and belief systems that motivate your behavior. And if you're not going after getting healing in those areas and learning about yourself and getting self-aware, there's a lot of tools in here that you're just not going to have, and that's what we do in our courses. So I'm going to first just say that, because if you can nail in, like, surrendering and not controlling, which I'm about to dive into, there are going to be moments where your brain gets hijacked because of pain and triggers, and you're not going to know how to do it well. So the first thing that I want to encourage you is to be gracious with yourself and be gracious with the people that you're doing life with as you're learning to not be a controlling human. The next thing that I want to say is surrender will be your lifeline in this process. Surrendering looks like you in a moment just deciding and meditating on internally, ultimately, I can't control this outcome. Me controlling it is just an illusion. I say this stuff to myself. If I try to control Spencer right now, it's actually an illusion. It's a delusion, me thinking that it's going to yield the fruit that I want in our lives. It's not going to work. It's actually just going to end up pushing him further away, and it's going to perpetuate fear in my internal world. And I want a relationship where we have freedom, where I'm empowering him, where I'm empowered, where I'm seeing him freely choose me with his free will because he wants to. That's what's going to help me experience love. And so over and over again, it's looked like me building a relationship with surrender. And I don't have like logistical ways to teach you how to surrender. I personally think it's something that we each figure out for ourselves internally.
And I think it's letting go of you actually believing that you're right, yes, and other people are wrong.
Yes.
You know, it's letting go that the way that I do life and have learned to do life is the right way to do life. It's letting go of that and understanding that there's actually reasons, deep-rooted reasons behind why people have behaviors and things that they do. And compassion and tenderness is going to be the safe landing pad for that stuff to come out, so we can deal on the real stuff and not the symptoms.
And sometimes with Christians, because it's mostly who we talk with, there's actually a lot of religious and legalistic ways that we think are right, that we think are godly, that we think is us representing God in the kingdom well, when actually it's just motivated by fear. And fear is not of God at all, and perfect love casts out fear. And so if you actually want to love well and do life in a godly manner, it doesn't look like you enforcing your religious or legalistic or moral compass onto someone else, because that's not going to actually bring real freedom, real healing, real love or connection. So figure out, like, what does it look like for me to surrender in a moment? What do I need to let go of? What do I need to tell myself? How do I need to have an exchange with God? What do I need to remind myself in a moment so that I can actually just relinquish control and choose to let the outcome happen no matter what it is? That's all we got for today. I'm going to keep it short. I just encourage you to go after, what does surrender look like to you? And to start going on a process of getting self-aware in this. And if you don't have leadership, if you don't have, and I don't mean a pastor that's above you or someone who's telling you what to do, I mean people that are ahead of you in this process, that are teaching you, inspiring you, being a part of your life, showing you the next steps. I so encourage you to get that. For me, and I knew in order to be the woman that I wanted to be one day, I needed someone who I wanted to be like. I needed someone who had glimpses of freedom and glimpses of the relationship I desired, or the connection with God I wanted, or the way that they parented their kids. Just find someone that's ahead of you and invest into yourself. It is the best investment you will ever do. And that's all I got to say. So I hope that you guys enjoyed. Go and share this video, like it, and subscribe to it if you haven't already. And we love you, and we're with you in this.
Yeah.
Water. I love water.